Oh man, this episode. What's up, guys? Vince right here. Let's talk about episode 4. Because let me tell you, it's. I feel like I'm supposed to make an hour video of this with time and also bills to pay. I know that this is not going to be biggest, but the chances are being an hour is you're not wrong. I feel like definitely there's a lot to say about Angel Dust. It's a character that kind of inspired me and also as a person within this channel for the longest time. Just, the fact of me and Angel Dust, both being Italian, both actually being queer, me being bi, and I guess Angel is gay, so there's a difference within that specter. But the influence, the attitude, and everything, a lot of what this channel has built off from is heavily inspired by Angel Dust in that sense. If you look at my reads, especially when it comes to the BL stuff, and look at how I, gush and oh my gosh, and stuff like that. Oh dear, pretty much in some sense, Angel Dust inspired me and also inspired a lot. Really did bring a lot of people within that generation back in 2020 or earlier, just seems to actually really drives in that character and who Angel Dust is, and bringing that, I just never really sort of get that from any other gay character. I mean, there's ones from Pose, that Netflix series. There's ones in probably I don't know about Q-Force, but I know that one's probably not a good way to really have a good representation within the LGBT plus community. But when it comes to any LGBT plus character itself, Angel Dust right now just seems the most inspirational, which makes sense why he's sort of been looked at here and there and judged, and also the show being judged from the episode, especially this episode itself, from who he is as a person and what he has been through. But I feel for this dark stuff like that shouldn't be canceled. I feel like people should have to tell their stories. People should have the right to tell, even though it's raunchy and just wrong and just disturbing and just it's not meant to be pretty for the eyes. It's not meant to actually really hold your hand in a sense, but it's supposed to actually tell you of really what they go through. I feel like great stories come from pain, come from, suffering or something like that, something that is so uncomfortable. And sometimes we need to be uncomfortable in order to reach comfort. And, that's at least from for all my years growing up, that's how I found that. That's how I found out, life is knowing if you want to be comfortable, you have to be uncomfortable. If you want to have a balance, I know that, pretty much for me, a lot of times when it comes down to the whole yin and yang kind of sense, I tend to follow that, life has a balance, but life is not pretty. I mean, if you look at Angel Dust, it almost he tries to make everything look pretty, but it's not. If anything, it's the opposite. So really going through this episode itself, I knew what to expect. I knew what to understand, especially hearing the news of how many people are just canceling this episode because of Angel Dust's story, which is kind of sad to hear. I feel you shouldn't freaking not everything is a clean slate. Not everything is peachy, perfect, this and that, and it shouldn't be, because for Angel Dust's story is something that is more realer than it actually should be, because it hits home for a lot of people. It triggers traumas for a lot of people that watching that pretty much relates to him or that are part of the same community that he is. And for what I've seen from this, it is that kind of testament, but except in cartoon fashion. If there's something about Hazbin that they did really nicely, for a cartoon like this, they managed to tell a story that is darker than any live action kill scene or anything like that of a gore. When it comes down to actually just telling the story and just how authentically how it is and how it really doesn't hold back. I appreciate that. For a cartoon like this, it's more realer than it has to be. And pretty much there's no cushion underneath to actually have that type of landing when it comes down to this, particular episode, because I feel like it did it well. It did it what it needs to do. And definitely there is no apologies surrounding it, because at the end of the day, this is hell. This is a dark place within a dark situation that has, pretty much some of the characters are going through, especially for Angel Dust. That Addict video really showcased it. It was pretty much as raunchy as this, but this one just brings up to a 10. So from that aspect, I have to give many praises for the writers and stuff like that to really be bold enough to actually tell that story, which is something that is very important and crucial within any other, because the thing is that what communities like this actually thrive to actually be stronger from is the stories that they tell. So it's very important. And also, yes, a lot of times I really do question like this, especially before. I really want to talk about Husk X Angel. Now, at first, I actually vouched to actually have them as a relationship when the pilot came in. This was a long time ago. And from what, and then for whatever reason, I did agree with Alistair X Angel, even though Alistair, from what it seems like, he's not really, I don't know what he is. Is he straight or not? Because I guarantee you he's not really into Angel like that at all. I feel like there is some moments within the show where Angel really does get into Alistair's feels, but for the many fan arts that I've been seeing with Alistair X Angel, I feel like that's probably not gonna be a reality, or that's not gonna happen in the show realistically, because it's mostly surrounding Husk and Angel. But the thing is that right now, as I really think about it, I don't really see them as a couple. I don't see them in that way. I mostly see it like a relationship of a family or somebody looking after one another, like brothers, like friends or something like that. But there's also this part of me where that doesn't match up to it. I don't really believe that at all. I don't know. So is Husk gonna be another cherry bomb? That kind of friendship where they're, even though cherry bomb and also Angel's relationship is kind of a bit more different when you actually have a guy being a friend with you compared to a girl. That's different. And in this sense, I try to understand or try to really look into Husk X Angel, and maybe looking into it would actually wouldn't do it justice as much. But there is a part of me where I sort of kind of just like to think about it and wonder how they gonna do this injustice. But the song, sorry, and pretty much the moments that they had for each other, it feels like most of the time it's kind of like this. It's like somebody like Husk really relates to a lot of people that works in a job, but they have no choice but to work in there. And I can understand that. And when they work at a job or something like that, or they work at a place that they don't like, but they have to work it anyways to support their family. And that's what I see true Husk. I see that realistic kind of face between them, but also being friends with somebody that usually doesn't get along, but now gets along with them in a much more because the thing is that I see that here's another analogy: a teacher, just there to pay the bills or something like that, doesn't want to be there, doesn't really want to deal with any of these kids or anything like that, but actually is bold enough and also smart enough to know that's just not. Sometimes you have to actually build relationships with other people, and it's not really always romantic. Building relationships is sort of important of for business and friendship socially, but also for love. And pretty much it really is something that binds the world together, knowing that, having that relationship, especially relationship between others that you don't relate at all. And maybe I sort of have to see that sense, especially if Husk and Angel are not together, then that's kind of a comparison of that where I have to see it through the show. And I don't know if I'm projecting or just just sort of comparing, but it is, in that realistic term of just, how two of these characters can actually sort of be together and be, friends, and also still have that relationship, but never in a romance. Because I knew, when I saw Sarcastic's chorus video about this, about how, Angel Dust and also Husk, them being in a relationship doesn't feel right. I feel like these are two generations. I feel like Husk is too old for Angel. And I know that maybe Angel is old enough to actually be in a relationship with him. If anything, they could be in the same age and I wouldn't know about it. But it just, I don't know. I don't really know if it would fit because, again, Husk, it just doesn't really strike me at all as that type of person to fall in love. Not that he not only does he like, really strike me as anybody from the LGBT plus community or anything, and I feel like there's most people in the community that does act like Husk for sure, but also you can see that he's not interested in falling in love with anyone. I mean, he could be Ace or something, but he's not interested in really developing that relationship with anyone. He's just there to actually, because he's in prison because of Alistair. And there's a part of me where I feel like if Alistair did set him free for whatever reason, either defeating Alistair or that moment where Alistair dies and then, Husk is free, is Husk still going to be friends with Angel Dust, or is he going to go off scot-free and forgetting about the whole thing? I know the show wouldn't allow it, but I feel like that could be an idea that could happen. And there's a part of me where I know I don't want it to happen, but I feel like when it goes to that direction, most fans will probably not like that. Let me tell you. I mean, the idea of Alistair dying or just being gone would also not be something that most of the fans wouldn't like at all. But especially with Husk leaving Angel Dust, or just like, anyone else leaving him, because I would just be pain. So what is the, downfall within, and also seeing Velveteeno as well in action, and also how he is, man, the thing is that I hate that I love how hateful this character is. If that makes sense, okay? There's a lot of hates within this, okay? Hate is a strong word. But yeah, it just feels like, yeah, that's what they're going for. But also, it's like, what is the story? Like, we saw a glimpse of the story behind Angel Dust, and especially his real name being Anthony. And also, like, how did he sign up for this? I feel like for anyone else, like, sometimes you gotta sign up. I think this is like an equivalent to working at a job you don't like. And that's the same thing with Husk signing up for within, being in a contract with Alistair, and also how Angel Dust being in a contract with Velveteeno. And there's a part of me where I feel like Alistair could be the enemy in the finale of this whole season or something like that, or later on in the episodes, is because that he signed a contract with, because here's the thing about, certain people within characters or a cast. Hazbin Hotel, I know I don't really do this a lot at any shows at all. But when it comes down to any show where you're part of a team, like, for example, Parks and Recs or Office, they're all part of a squad. They're all part of a community, even though that's not really their art. Some of them are probably just there working because they got no damn choice, and they ain't no damn squad. I get that. But what does that make Alistair? Since, is he part of the crew? Is he part of the Hazbin Hotel crew, basically? Is he really, really with them or not? It brings that question, because I know it ain't like, the Straw Hat Pirates from One Piece. Like, whoever is on this ship is part of this crew. But does that mean Alistair is part of that ship? Is he part of the Hazbin crew? Is he part of, is he like in the same equivalent, like being friends with Charlie or Angel or anyone else, or even Husk? Like, does he want to join, or is he part of it? Like, I don't know. I don't know how that relationship really builds, because I'm not sure of the land. And I know that it's different from whatever crew that you may say, or a family, even though Charlie says it's a family, and pretty much it's a very dysfunctional family. But is it really a family? Like, because I still question, like, if Alistair is really with them or not, because the whole contract, like, that sort of somewhat gives it away for, like, later on. But I could be wrong, and hopefully I am wrong. Maybe, like, Alistair could have a turning heart, but him being a very powerful overlord, I don't know. But other than that, the whole episode was nice. And yes, Charlie was a bit too much for this one. I seen reactions of this, like, people are like cringing like over Charlie, like how she handled this very poorly, and especially made it harder for Angel Dust. And it's just like sad to see, like, Angel Dust going out like that. It feels like there's a lot of emotion through Angel Dust within this episode, but it's that moment where it almost got to me as well, within, like, Charlie just messing up and just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, why are you here? This is a bad idea, or something like that. And I get she may be using, like, being like, I go where I please, or something like that. Whatever Charlie said, like, just using that power. And I feel like it's best. It sort of like shows like she doesn't use that power at all. for anything or whatever it is. If anything, like she would use that power within like her meeting with Adam, but that didn't go well. So this episode itself really showcased a lot of elements through these characters and it really brought in a lot of light. I do like the songs. I do like how this is sort of just like, the beginning of just like hating more of like who Velvetina is. Like that's definitely for sure. And man, Angel Dust, I just only hope better things happen because when he broke down and snapped or something like that, the words that come out of his mouth was just like sort of empathizes with so many people that can relate to him. It's one of those moments where it's like painful and what he was, just going through. And I feel like for many people that are like full-on fans of Hazbin Hotel would just definitely feel that and it would almost break them. But that's just the way I see it. These are just my opinions or anything like that or my speculations. I could be wrong for any of this. But always remember, who am I? Okay? I'm just a person on the internet talking about this. I don't know. But yeah, I love to actually just seek more from this world because it has been a long time. It really does. Other than that, I'll see you when I see you. Episode 4 was a banger. And I'll watch it again and again, which I did already. Okay, I just can't get enough of this. And there's some stuff I missed, but whatevs. I'll see you when I see you. One love, a peace, and God bless.